And as we welcome anyone doing the recording, we'll let you know that we will be using one block this morning and we're going to begin sitting. So you could sit in a chair, you could sit on something like your block or a blanket or something. So let's make our way over to finding a place to sit. And maybe you're comfortable sitting on the floor. Maybe you're comfortable sitting cross-legged. If you're not comfortable sitting cross-legged, you can sit with your legs straight, or again, you could sit up on something. Um, but however you're sitting, and if you want to lie down, you're welcome to do that too. But it's nice to switch it up sometimes. So as we're sitting, it's always nice to think about what is our foundation. And when we're sitting, our sitting bones are the foundation that supports our spine. So let's consciously feel our sitting bones. Just kind of get in touch with how those feel. And let's think about sending roots down from our sitting bones, down into whatever we're sitting on. Imagining those sitting bones going down into the earth, going down deep. Because anytime we can visualize sending roots down, it can help us to feel that stability that a plant or a tree feels when it's rooted. So that whatever comes along to try to knock us over can't do so because we are grounded, we are rooted. So feel that sensation of rooting yourself to place. And as your sitting bones root down, then allow your spine to be upright in a way that's comfortable. Let your hands rest comfortably wherever. And you can have your eyes open or you might choose to close your eyes. And we're just going to take a little time to bring our awareness to what it feels like to be here now. How does it feel to be on your mat, sitting up tall, in whatever space you're in, listening to the sound of my voice? Take a moment and just recognize how you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally. We're, of course, going through a challenging time. And so chances are we've got some stress, some tension in our bodies. So let's begin to use our breath to see if we can kind of change the way we feel. So let's begin to breathe deeply. Feel your in-breath expanding into you. And feel your out-breath releasing. Let your in-breath be full and deep and expansive. And let your out-breath be an emptying, a releasing, and a letting go. And just really immerse yourself in the feeling of your breath. Moving in your body. When we sit up, we can feel the breath quite differently than when we're lying down. You can feel the breath moving into the sides and the back of the body. And it might be easier to notice the movement of the diaphragm when we're breathing. because that thin layer of muscle tissue that rests over the organs, when we breathe in, it lowers down, it engages. And when we breathe out, it softens up into the rib space and releases. And if we allow that diaphragm to release all the way, it sends a signal to the nervous system that everything's okay. This is what happens when we yawn. And we're very relaxed. And it's useful to allow the nervous system to reset in this way, allow the diaphragm to release. So take a few more of these full, deep, expansive breaths in and out. And after your next full emptying of breath, you can move into a more natural breath rhythm. And then check in and notice how you're feeling again. Maybe you feel a little different. The one thing that is always true is that things are constantly changing. And sometimes when we feel a certain way, like especially if we're frustrated or angry or upset, we can hold on to that for a really long time. But we can also let it go. We don't need to hold on to emotion. We can just let it flow through us and find ourselves feeling a little differently. So before we start our movement practice, let's take a moment and think about softening the roof of the mouth. Just imagine the roof of your mouth, which is a dome. Imagine it broadening out so it becomes more of a flat, plain surface, like a flat surface. Imagine that broadening out towards your molars. Imagine it broadening out towards the back of your head, as if that flat surface continued all the way back to the base of your skull. And just notice how that feels. Notice a change, perhaps. Things are constantly changing, and we are amazingly adaptable to change. So we'll begin our movement practice. You can go ahead and open your eyes. And as we do our practice today, let's really pay attention to how the movement feels and how the movement might change the way we feel. So as you're sitting up tall, maybe grab your knees, and we're going to again root the sitting bones down to rise up nice and tall. And then let's think about extending the spine or arching a little bit. We'll lift the sternum and let the back arch a little bit as we breathe in. And then as we breathe out, let's draw the belly in and round back and drop the chin down. So we're rounding the spine as we exhale, and then we're going to root the sitting bones down and inhale, straighten up, lift the heart, extend or arch the back a little bit. And then as we exhale, let's again round, drop the chin, roll back. So it's a little bit like a seated cat-cow, grounding down to sit up and arching and extending as we inhale, and then rolling, rounding back, dropping the chin as we exhale. And then as we root down, let's sit up tall, breathe in, and then can we lean forward a little bit, keeping the spine kind of neutral, not bending at the waist, but just hinging from the hips. And then come back up. Let's do that again. Breathe in and then lean forward as you exhale, not bending at the waist, just hinging from the hips, and then come back up. And then if you're sitting cross-legged, you always cross one leg in and then the other. So I'd like you to switch that up. Cross the other leg in first. And root down and sit up tall and breathe in. And exhale and hinge forward again. So just kind of working the hips a little bit differently. Let's root down and sit up tall and breathe in. And again, exhale and hinge forward. All right, we're going to sit up tall. Let's take the arms and reach them out. Get nice and broad across the shoulders, across the upper back. As we root down, we'll inhale and stretch up, lifting here. As we exhale, let's let the right arm come down on the floor. As we inhale, we'll stretch the left arm up. We'll step that right arm a little bit over and let that elbow bend as we stretch over to the side. You can let your neck just be anywhere you want it to be. Let's breathe into that left side. Breathe into the side ribs. And then exhale and bring that arm down. We'll do that again. Take the arms out, get nice and spacious, broad across the collarbones. As you root down, inhale and reach up, lift. As you exhale, bring the left arm down on the floor, or the left hand. Let's reach the right arm up as we breathe in. And we'll step that left hand over, bend the knee, the elbow, and stretch over to the side. And then breathe into the rib cage here as you stretch over. And then let that arm release down. Great. All right, as you root down and sit up tall, let's bring the left hand across, bring the right arm behind, and just gently twist around in this direction. And take a breath. In and out. And then just release back around. We'll go to the other side. Right arm comes across, left arm goes behind. Take a breath in. Exhale and twist in that direction. And then breathe in and out here. Nice, easy, gentle twist here. Great. And then release back around. Let's shake out the legs. And we're going to transition to all fours. So if you want to kneel on a blanket, go ahead, that's fine. If you want to, just be on all fours, whatever works for you. But knees beneath hips and wrists beneath shoulders. You can move your shoulders, your hips a little bit as you arrive here. And then make sure your hands are supporting your weight. So your thumbs, your fingers, your knuckles are all pressing down. Spine is nice and long. Let's put a little tone in the belly, just a little support for the low back. And then we're going to take one leg, doesn't matter which leg, press back through the heel, reach the opposite arm forward. As you're here, do you have that little support for your low back in your belly? Or are you letting your belly drop? Can you keep your spine neutral here rather than letting your low back arch? Press back through your heel and reach your opposite arm forward and take a breath. And then bring that hand and knee down. Let's do the other side. Take the other leg, press back through the heel, flexing the foot. Little tone in the belly as you reach the arm forward, the opposite arm. And as you're reaching back through the heel and reaching forward through the fingertips, can you keep your spine neutral? Not let the low back drop or arch. Let's release that hand and knee down. Let's do the first side. Leg and arm reaching out, breath. And then bringing that hand and knee down. Other side, heel goes back, arm reaches forward, breath. And then hand and knee come down. Again, opposite arm, opposite leg, reaching out, breathe. And then release, breathe out. One more time like this, opposite arm and leg reach out. And then hand and knee come down. All right, on that first side, leg goes back, arm goes forward, press out through your heel, reach out through your fingertips, take a breath, and then lower the pinky and the big toe to the floor, and then inhale and reach out. So lower them down and then reach them out. Can you lower the leg and lift the leg and keep the spine neutral? So sometimes as the leg goes up, then we let the low back arch. So maybe knit your ribs a little bit, engage the low belly a little bit. Inhale as the arm and leg reach out. Exhale as the arm and leg lower. One more time. Reach out and lower down. We're just going to reach out and hold. Press out strongly through the heel. Feel the whole back of that leg fire. And then hand and knee come down. We'll do the second side. Leg goes back, arm goes forward. Press out through your heel, reach out through your fingertips, take a breath. Exhale, pinky and big toe touch down. Inhale, reach out. Lowering down and reaching out. So can you lower and lift the leg and keep the spine neutral? Requires a little support from the front body. A little tone in the belly, a little knitting of the ribs. Let's do this a couple more times. Lowering and reaching out and lowering. As you reach out here, let's hold. Press out strongly through the heel, reach out through the fingertips, take a breath. Nice job. Let's release hand and knee down, and we'll sit back into child's pose. Sit back on your heels, round forward, let your forehead be supported, and check in with how you feel. We don't feel the same as we did a few minutes ago, constantly changing. How are we feeling now? And when we check in and we notice how we're feeling, can we welcome whatever that is? Try not to judge it as negative or positive, but just be okay with it. Be accepting, understanding of how we're feeling. All right. With our next inhale, let's lift our heads up and reach our arms way out in front and transition to downward facing dog. So as we come here, again, we ground through the hands. We always pay attention to our connection to the ground. So in this case, we're using our hands, fingers, thumbs, knuckles. As we draw the hips up and back, sometimes the shoulder blades drop in towards each other. Can you create a little space between your shoulder blades? And then let your head just dangle. Let the weight of the head drop down and just feel some ease in the base of the skull as the head moves a little bit. Let's bend a knee and press a heel down. And then that knee and press the other heel down. And let's bend both knees a bit, or actually bend both knees quite a bit. And then can you lift the backs of your thighs up toward the sky? Breathe in, and then bend your knees quite a bit as you breathe out. And then lift the backs of your thighs up as you breathe in. One more time, bend your knees quite a bit as you exhale, and then lift the backs of your thighs up as you breathe in. This time, bend your knees just a bit. Draw your hips a little further up and back. Keep a little space across your upper back. Take a breath and let it empty. Do that again. Big breath in and big sigh out. Great. Let's walk our hands back towards our feet, dropping the heels down. So we end up in ragdoll, arms and head heavy and loose. Grounding through the feet now. Feel that foundation. You could send your roots down through your toes, through your heels. Let's take a big breath into the upper back. Let the breath begin to empty out, and then draw your belly in and begin to roll yourself up with nice soft knees. And then begin to stack your vertebrae, one on top of the other. As you make your way up, eventually, go ahead, come up. Feel that connection to the ground as you're standing tall. Reach your arms out wide, broaden. Reach your arms all the way up, big breath. And then exhale your arms down at your side. Great. Let's turn and face our device. And we're going to just do a couple of heel raises. So if you want to be near a wall to hold on to or hold on to a chair, you can. So have your feet just right beneath you, about hip distance. And so we start with that solid connection to the ground. Then let's just lift our heels a little bit. So this requires just a little bit of balance, and it activates some muscles in the leg. What if we lifted our heels up really high? Suddenly it becomes much more challenging to balance because we're balancing on a much smaller surface, right? But our toes really help us to balance. Whoa, okay. And then let's lower down close to the floor. So much easier. And then of course, feel the stability when your feet are planted. Let's do that again. Lift the heels a little bit. Not too hard, even though we've got more weight on the balls and the toes. But suddenly we lift the heels up really high and it's much more challenging, right? But this really helps to strengthen the ankles. So let's lower closer to the floor and then feel that stability of our connection to the ground. We'll do that one more time. Lift your heels a little bit, then lift them really high. Yeah, the tendency is for the ankles to roll out. Try and bring them back each time that happens. And then lower your heels close to the floor. And then lower them all the way down. Ah, yes. Feel the groundedness of your whole foot on the floor. Isn't it nice? All right, let's stand grounded now at the front of our mats. Rooted and tall. And we'll reach the arms out. As you hold your arms out, I want you to take a breath in. And then as you exhale, I want you to reach your arms up. And lift your heart a little bit. And then inhale and release your arms down. So it's different than we often do. And then exhale and reach your arms out and reach them up. Lift your heart a little bit. And then inhale and lower your arms down. This can free up the shoulders and the muscles in the chest a little bit. Exhale and take the arms up. Extend. And inhale, coming down. This time we're going to flow. So we're going to take a breath in. As we exhale, we're going to bring the arms up. Extend the heart a little bit. And then we're going to inhale as we fold over. And then we're going to exhale and extend the spine. So you might bring your hands to your shins. And then we're going to inhale as we round. All right, let's bring our hands to the floor and step back to downward facing dog. Grounding down to lift up and back, taking a breath. And then we'll come to straight arm plank. So as we're in plank, know that you can always drop to knees. We're going to really connect the whole hands into the floor. Let's firm up the front of the legs, the back of the legs. A little tone in the belly here. Now we're going to transition to side plank. You can just roll to the side, or you can take the knee that's furthest from your device and drop it down and turn that foot back and come up to kneeling side plank, or you can just roll to the sides of your feet and come up into side plank. Whichever way you're in, can you lift the hips a little bit and take a breath and then come back to straight arm plank. Firm up the legs, tone up the belly. Press down with the hands, take a breath. Let's do the other side. You can drop to the knee closest to your device or just roll to the sides of the feet, press down to lift up. And can you lift your hips a little bit and take a breath? Nice. And then come back to straight arm plank. Firm up the legs. Firm up the back of the legs. Firm up the belly a little bit. Take a breath. Now you might drop to your knees. We're going to try a little bend in the elbows. Elbows pointed back. Try not to let your head drop or your hips drop. Take another breath here. And then let's let the knees come down and lower the chest all the way down. Nice. We'll slide the heels of the hands back a little bit, letting the chest sink into the floor. Go ahead and let your nose touch your mat, and then lift your chin and your nose up so you're really close to the floor. Crown of the head extending forward as you reach back through your toes. So let's slide the shoulder blades up and slide them down a couple times, kind of freeing up the upper back. And then let the shoulder blades land right where they like to be. And then from right between there, start to lift the chest up, pull the heart forward, and extend into baby cobra. We could lift our hands a little bit off the mat. Let's lift the elbows up and hug the elbows in, kind of creating a little work in the upper back. And then we'll release the hands, release the chest. This time, we're going to do the same thing to start. Inhale up to baby cobra. And you could stay here, or you could come up a bit more. Try not to dump all into the low back, a nice long extension through your spine. And then lower back down. Nice. Let's push up to knees. Curl the toes under and lift the knees and pull the hips up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And let's look a little forward, walk our feet up toward our hands and plant our feet beneath us. Knees can be soft here. We're going to take a breath into the upper back. And then as we exhale, we're going to sweep the arms out, then rise up, breathing out. And inhale, dropping the arms. Again, exhale, sweep your arms overhead. Inhale, swan dive. Exhale, extend your spine forward. Hands can go to shins. Inhale, round forward. Exhale, step back to downward facing dog. Take another breath here. And exhale to straight arm plank. Nice and strong here. Take a breath. Exhale, a little bend in the elbows. Take another breath here. Exhale and lower all the way down. Prone mountain. Let's bring our forearms underneath us now. Get your elbows right beneath your shoulders and then slice down to lift your chest. Push down with your forearm so you're not sinking down. Curl your toes under and let's lift the hips up. So we start with the knees down and the hips off the floor. We're pushing down to create some work across the upper back, pushing down with the arms. We could stay here or we could lift the knees up. If the knees are lifted, firm up the legs, front of the legs, back of the legs. As you're here, could you lift your hips 2 inches, 1 or 2 inches, and then come back down. Lift your hips 1 or 2 inches, just a little lift, and then come back to straight. 2 more times. Lift your hips 1 or 2 inches, and then come back to straight. Last time, lift your hips 1 or 2 inches. Now let's hold here for a couple of breaths, pushing the floor away with the forearms, strong in the legs. Take 1 more breath. Nice work. And then drop to knees, lower the hips. Bring your chest down, take your elbows wide. Let your head rest on your hands. Let everything relax. So big shift. We had so many muscles engaged a moment ago, and now we're letting them all relax. Notice how that feels as you take a breath. All right, let's press the front of the hips down, lift the legs up, reaching back through the toes. With your legs lifted, can you draw your heels in towards your midline and then separate them? Draw your heels in towards your midline and then separate. 1 more time. Draw your heels in and separate. Hold those legs up, take a breath, and then relax them down. Good job. Let's hover the head and bring our arms to our side, palms up. We're going to start the same way, pressing hips down to lift the legs up. We'll reach back through the fingertips and inhale and lift the chest up. Keep the back of the neck long. Could you lift your legs a bit more? Could you pull your heart a little more forward, lift your chest? Let's take a breath. And lower down. Nice work. Bring hands next to chest. Push back to knees. Take your hips back. Curl your toes under and make your way up to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. All right, we're gonna come into a right foot forward lunge. You could drop to knees and step your right foot out in front, or we could lift the right leg up in the air, bend the knee, draw the knee up and in, look forward and step through to lunge. So we end up in this low lunge here. Feet are hip distance apart, you're not on a balance beam. Then let's bring our forearms onto this front thigh into externally supported lunge. So from here, we'll find the line as the heel presses back. We'll lengthen through the crown of the head. One long line, leg, spine. Can we maintain all this and just bring our hands to heart? So we're internally supporting this lunge here, really grounding through that front foot. We'll take a breath here. As we exhale, let's twist to the right. So twist around, twist your ribs, chest, shoulders. You could keep your hands to heart, or you could take your elbow to the outside of the knee to try to deepen the twist here. We'll take a breath, and then we'll unwind ourselves back to center. Let's release our hands down and step back. You can kneel and step back, or just make your way up to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out. And then we're going to do that with the left leg. So you could drop to the knees and step the left foot out in front, or lift the left leg up, taking a breath. Bend that knee, hug it in, look forward and step that foot through to lunge. Getting again into a low lunge, feet hip distance apart. And then let's bring the forearms onto the front thigh. Pressing back through the heel, lengthening through the crown. From here, bring your hands to heart. Try not to change your position much. Just bring your hands to heart. Take a breath here. Really ground through that front foot. And then, after your next breath in, start to twist to the left. And again, your hands could stay to heart, or your elbow could go to the outside of the knee to deepen that twist. We'll take a breath here. And as we release the breath, we'll unwind. Bringing hands down, we'll step back to downward facing dog. Nice work. Let's breathe in and out here. You could stay here, or we could flow, straight arm plank. Little bend in the elbows, lowering all the way down to prone mountain. Inhaling up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhaling back down. And making our way up and back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. We're going to step the right foot forward into lunge again. So we can lift the leg up, or however we want to get into a right foot forward lunge. Let's get there. And then pressing into the front foot, we'll rise up. Let's bring our hands to hips and square our hips to the front of the mat. Let's bend into the front knee, really feeling that front foot on the floor. And then we'll push that foot down to straighten the front leg. Bend the front knee, and then push the foot down to straighten. Bend that front knee. Push the foot down to straighten. This time we'll bend the knee, keeping the knee bent. We'll press back through the heel, lift the heart up. We'll drop our arms down. Let's reach them out and inhale and reach them up. Lift up. And then exhale, hands all the way down to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Or you can drop to knees and step the left foot out in front. We could lift the left leg up and swing that leg through. So we'll get to a left foot forward lunge. Once you're here, really press into the front foot and bring yourself upright. You can straighten the front leg. Hands to hips, square your hips to the short line of your mat. Let's bend the front knee forward. Push that foot down to straight. Bend the front knee forward. Push that foot down to straighten. Again, bend the front knee forward. Push down to straighten. This time bend that knee. We'll keep it bent. The knee and shin are kind of moving as if they're moving forward. Back heel presses back. We'll lift the heart up. Let's drop our arms down, reach them out, reach them up, lift, lengthen, and then exhale arms all the way down and step back to down dog. Nice. You can hang out here, take a break on your knees or flow one more time. Straight arm plank, breath here, lowering all the way down as you exhale. Inhaling up to baby cobra or cobra. Exhaling back down and making our way up and back to down dog. Breathing in and out here. Let's again walk our hands back towards our feet, dropping the heels down, ending up folded over. We're going to bend the knees and lower the hips. We're going to sweep our arms forward so we're sitting back in a low chair. Let's either keep the arms forward or try bringing them up by the ears. And then push into your feet and legs. Inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale your arms down. Nice work. All right, let's turn towards our device. We're going to take our feet wide. Let's turn the right foot in and turn the left foot up. Press the outer edge of that back foot down as you bend your front knee. And then push that foot down to straighten. So bend into the knee, push down to straighten. Bend into the knee, push down to straighten. This time bend into the front knee. We're going to keep that knee bent. And we're going to lift that front heel a little bit off the floor. And imagine you're pulling that heel back towards your midline. Just that little idea of pulling the heel back changes the way the whole lower body is feeling, isn't it? And you feel a lot more muscle engagement in the leg, maybe in the pelvic floor. You're imagining you're pulling that heel back. Take a breath and then drop the heel down. Great. Take another breath, straighten up your spine a little bit, and then tip your hips over, bringing your bottom arm on your bottom leg, and then take your other arm forward. Let's inhale that arm up toward the ceiling. Yeah. So now, could you lift this bottom arm just slightly off your bottom leg and then let it rest back down? Lift that bottom arm slightly up off the bottom leg and then let it come back down. Again, lift it a little bit up and let it come back down. This time, lift it up, reach up. We're going to come all the way up and straighten that front leg. We're going to turn the feet in, and then we'll go to the second side. So left foot turns in, right foot turns out, and we'll bend the front knee. Find a nice width for you with this back outer foot planted, front knee bending. And then push the front foot down to straighten the front leg. Bend the knee, push down to straighten. Bend the knee, push down to straighten. This time bend the knee, keep the knee bent as the spine rises up nice and tall. Now, could we lift the front heel just a little bit and imagine you're pulling that heel back towards your midline. You're activating the underline of the leg into the pelvic floor. And maybe you feel the back leg fire a little bit more. Take one more breath as you're pulling that heel back. And then let the heel rest down. Great. All right, with your hands on your hips, we're going to tip the hips over and let this bottom arm rest on this leg. Other arm can reach forward. Let's open it toward the ceiling. Straight up. It doesn't have to be behind you. Just straight up. And then, can we lift this bottom arm a little bit off the bottom leg? And then come back over. Lift that bottom arm a little bit up. Notice how the core kicks in. 2 more times. Lift that arm a little bit up and come back over. This time, we'll lift it up, reach up, we'll come all the way up, straighten that front leg. Great. Turn the feet in. And we can walk the feet in, or you could just jump your feet together if you want. Okay. We're going to do one more thing for balance, and then we're going to do something else. So I want you to stand towards the front of your mat. Well, it doesn't really matter. Anywhere on your mat with one foot on your mat and one foot off your mat. Okay? So the foot that's on the mat is the leg that we're going to be balancing on. The other leg, you're going to point the toe out in front of you. And then you're going to take that pointed toe out to the side. And then you're going to bend your standing leg as that leg sweeps around behind you. You can lean forward a little bit. So we're just going to swing that leg out to the side and bring it forward, straightening the standing leg. Swing it out to the side, bend the knee as it goes behind. Swing it out and bring it forward. Swing it out and go behind. So we can do this with the toe on the floor, or to make it a little more challenging, you could do it with the toe off the floor. And if you want, you could add your arms as kind of a counterbalance. So that's all we're going to do. We're swinging the leg out to the side and bringing it behind. We're swinging it out to the side and bringing it forward. So we're really challenging the strength of the standing leg. And maybe we can do this one more time. You can put the toe back down. You can take a break if you need to. Great. Standing center. Let's try it on the other side. So one foot, you don't actually, you could be standing anywhere, but you could have one foot on your mat, one foot off your mat. You just can't have the sliding leg on your mat. So standing up, that supporting leg rooted down. The pointed leg, you're going to take out to the side and bend the standing leg as it goes behind you. Take it out to the side and bring it forward. So we can do this with the toe on the floor, sweeping it around, or we could do it with the toe off the floor for a little more of a challenge. You could alternate. Sometimes you got to put the toe down. You might feel like you want to hold on to something. That's fine. Swing it forward. We're just practicing. We're just trying to think of ways to practice working on our balance, because that's what we need to do. Our balance is going to get worse as we get older, but the more we can do to work with keeping ourselves strong and capable, the better. Good work. Okay. So I wanted to finish up this morning with headstand, because I've been talking about this a little bit lately. So we know that, so first of all, I'm going to say a very accessible form of headstand that everyone can do, not a rail headstand with your legs up in the air. Although if that's your practice, you can do that. But, you know, we know that if we want to maintain the health of our bones, we want to do weight-bearing exercise. And so it occurs to me that there is benefit if we want to maintain the strength of the spinal column. If we give it some weight bearing through the legs, that's going to help the pelvis. Maybe it helps the whole spine. But if we were to put some weight on our head from time to time, that could potentially benefit our bone density in our cervical spine, right? So I used to do headstand a lot, and I have some cervical spine issues, so I kind of stopped doing it. But I think there's some benefit to doing it, maybe not with the kicking up in the air, but just with our basic rabbit pose, which we'll be doing in a moment. But whenever I do headstand, I like to encourage people to balance something on their head. So take your block, or you could use a book, and put it on your head. Because it's just kind of fun, first of all, because we don't do this all the time like we did when we were children. We used to balance things on our head. I think we found out we could do this. We did this. We all did this. So once you've got something balanced on your head, now press on top of whatever that thing is, press down. And notice where the center of that contact is. That's the part of your head that you want to place on the floor. The biggest flaw we see in headstand is that people put the weight like not on that part of their head, they put it more forward. And you want to put your head right there where you're pressing down. So now, if you're familiar with headstand, you can go ahead and get there, but I'm going to show you, you can watch how we're going to do this. So we're going to put that part of our head on the floor, and we're just going to clasp our hands and let our forearms drop to the floor. And one level is just to be here, and the next level that we're going to do is to lift the hips and just be here. So those are our options. Now, if somebody wanted to kick up into full headstand, you'd be welcome to do so. So let's all put that part of our head on the floor that we found by balancing a book. Make sure that that part of your head is on the floor. And then clasp the back of your head and let your forearms drop down. You can slide your bottom pinky under. And you could be here just on your knees. And you're putting a little weight on your head. So you're putting a little weight. You're asking the cervical spine to support you here. If you want to go a little further, you could curl your toes under and lift your hips up. So there's a little more weight, but there's not all your body weight. And of course, your forearms are supporting some of the weight as well. But I think there's some benefit here in terms of bone density. And then the yogis believe that this is a way to connect to the earth, to ground through the crown of the head. And we find that it can be a very grounding experience to connect with the ground through the crown of the head. So just notice that sensation. How does it feel to have that central point of your skull connected to the ground? You might not choose to stay here super long, or you might be fine here. So maybe you come out, maybe you've already come out, that's fine. Maybe you want to stay for another breath or two. And then maybe you're already on your knees or you drop to knees. And as you lift your head up now, just go right into child's pose so that your forehead is supported by the floor or by your bent arms. And take a moment and just really connect with how you're feeling. Things are constantly changing. We always are feeling different. Take one more breath here. All right, go ahead and lift your head up. And we're going to make our way around to lying on our backs. Just go ahead and transition all the way around to lying down on your back. And plant your feet hip distance apart. So we're going to set up for a bridge pose. So we have our arms at our side. We have our feet hip distance apart with your heels kind of close, kind of straight down under your knees. And let's begin by, so right now there's a certain part of your low back that's on the floor, and most of us have a little bit of the low back that's off the floor. So we have our sacrum at the base of the spine where there's a lot of contact, and beneath that or below that is our tailbone. So we're going to start by lifting our tailbone and then lifting our sacrum, and then start to lift your lumbar vertebrae very slowly, gradually, and just come up to the point where you feel your low ribs are on the floor and everything below that is lifted. So you're just lifting your lumbar spine. And then slowly roll that out. So we have 5 lumbar vertebrae. You can feel those articulating down. And then eventually your sacrum will come down. And then imagine you have a tail and your tail is rolling out. Like a lion with a long tail just rolling out. That's attached to your tailbone imaginarily. Let's try that again. We're going to lift the tail, lift the sacrum, and start to slowly lift those lumbar vertebrae until you get so that you can feel your low ribs still on the ground, but everything below that is up. Take a breath. And then release those lower vertebrae very slowly, gradually, incrementally. If it bothers your knees at all, change the position of your feet. You turn them out a little bit or widen them a little bit, whatever feels good. Once you've released all the way down, imagine that tail just rolling out. Now give a big, long, relaxed tail. Great. Okay. This time, starting the same way, Roll up your tail, lift your sacrum. Slowly, gradually lift those lower vertebrae up until you feel your low ribs on the floor. But then let's keep going. Let's keep lifting vertebra by vertebra by vertebra until you start to bring the weight eventually more up towards your shoulders. And once you're up here, think about your knees and shins pressing forward to maybe feel you lifting a bit higher. Take a breath at the top. And then can you really slowly, gradually, incrementally lower yourself down? This is where if you're on a more hard surface, like a floor beneath your mat, you're probably gonna feel it a little more readily than if you're on a soft, squishy carpet. But try to release gradually here. Eventually you'll get to the lower ribs, and then you can release those lumbar vertebrae very slowly, gradually, incrementally. And then eventually let the tail roll out. Let everything relax. Nice work. All right, let's hug one knee into chest and extend the other leg up straight on the floor. The leg on the floor, bounce the knee a couple times and let that leg be nice and loose and heavy as you hug the other knee in close. With the same hand as that knee, open it out to the side now and take a breath. Excuse me. And then bring that knee back in. Grab that knee, bring it across towards your midline, and then hug it up towards the opposite shoulder. And take a breath. And then bring that knee back in line with that foot. We'll lift that leg up in the air, holding behind the thigh. Press the thigh away from you into your clasped hands, and then flex your foot. Heel up, toes down, and then point your toes up, and then squeeze your toes, stretch into the top of that foot. Wiggle that out. Flex your foot again, heel up, toes down. Point your toes, squeeze them. Good. Wiggle it out. Bend that knee, release that foot down. Change leg. Bring the other knee into chest. Extend the other leg out straight. Bounce the knee a few times. Let that bottom leg be loose and heavy. Then hug the knee in really close. Taking a breath. Holding that knee with the same hand, open that knee out to the side and take a breath. Bring the knee back. As you exhale, grab it, bring it towards your midline, and then up towards the opposite shoulder. Taking a breath. Bring that knee back in line with that hip. Lift the leg up, reach around, grab the back of the thigh, press the leg into your hands. Arms become straight. Push your heel up, pull your toes towards you. Point your toes up. Squeeze the toes at the top. And then flex. And point. And squeeze. Now we have our leg that's up in the air. Take the other leg and place that foot on the floor. Take the leg that's up in the air, bend the knee and drop that ankle just below that bottom bent knee. This top leg, you can kind of open it away from you a bit. Then lift the bottom foot up off the floor to bring the legs in towards you. Take your left hand, reach between the legs. Take your right arm around, grab the back of that right leg. Well, maybe you're on the same leg as me. Anyway, pull in. Flex your feet as you do this. Breathe in and out. If you like, you can take the legs an inch or two to one side. Maybe back to center, maybe an inch or two to the other side. Back to center. Hug in a little closer. And then release the bottom foot. Release the other foot. Take that second leg up in the air and bend the knee and drop the ankle below the other knee. That top knee can move a little bit away. Pick your bottom foot up off the floor to bring the legs in towards you. Reach through, reach around, grab onto that further away thigh and hug it in. Both feet can be flexed here. You can just be here, or you could take the legs slightly to one side, inch or two, back to center, slightly to the other side, inch or two, back to center, maybe hugging a little closer for one more breath. Let that breath go and release that bottom foot down. Release your other foot down. And we'll move into our final relaxation. So what could you do to make this final relaxation really nice for yourself? So we've been doing some work. We've been asking our bodies to move in all kinds of ways. And our body has been accommodating us nicely. And now we're going to give ourselves this little treat of relaxation. So get warm, get comfortable, support your body in any way that would make it be able to relax more fully, and then lie back. For me, I'm more comfortable with something under my head and something under my knees. For you, it might be something else. So we arrive in a lying down position, and we allow the body to relax. It's really the most natural thing for the body to do. Recognizing that we're lying down and the floor is supporting us. All our muscles can relax. There's a few that'll keep working to keep our inner body working, but our external muscles can relax. But we have so many habitual habits of muscles staying tense. So they might need a little encouragement to let the feet relax, to relax the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs, letting the weight of the legs drop into the floor. To let all the tension that we hold in the belly, in the seat, in the gut, fall away. Rest into the floor. We can allow all these muscles that clench and tighten in the shoulders and the chest and the upper back to relax. We'll let the arms be heavy, let the palms relax. And then as the head is resting back heavily, all those muscles we used to hold the head up, to focus and concentrate, all those muscles can soften now. Smooth out, release and relax. And we'll just rest here easily, body relaxed, mind relaxed. And as you continue lying back, I'm just going to share a little reading from Mark Nepo called "We Are All Made Delicate." He says, "The hard things break. The soft things bend. The stubborn ones batter themselves against all that is immovable. The flexible adapt to what is before them. Of course, we are all hard and soft, stubborn and flexible, and so we all break until we learn to bend, and are battered until we accept what is before us." This brings to mind the Sumerian tale of Gilgamesh, the stubborn, hard king who sought to ask the Immortal One the secret of life. He was told that there would be stones on his path to guide him, but in his urgency and pride, Gilgamesh was annoyed to find his path blocked, and so smashed the very stones that would help him. In his blindness of heart, he broke everything he needed to discover his way. With the same confusion, we too break what we need, push away those we love, and isolate ourselves when we need to be held most. There have been many times in my life when I have been too proud to ask for help, or too afraid to ask to be held. And in the frenzy of my own isolation, like Gilgamesh, I have smashed the window I was trying to open, have split the bench I was trying to hammer, and have made matters worse by bruising the one I meant to be tender with. The live bough bends, the dead twig snaps. We are humbled to soften from our griefs, or else, in brittle time, become the next thing grieved. So you might choose to keep lying back. You might choose to transition to bringing your feet to the floor, rolling to your side. You might make your way eventually up to sitting and spend a few moments closing out your practice with some quiet reflection. We all find that delicateness, that ability to bend and be flexible. Thanks for being here this morning. I wish you a peaceful, lovely day. So you can come on over and say hi to your friends, ask a question, or you can head off on your day, whichever's better for you.